You love them or you hate them, members of the media, but it's always good to talk about, and nobody covers them better or more effectively, shall we say, and makes more news about it than Dylan Byers, Politico's media reporter, good friend and a neighbor, and in studio with us this morning.
In studio.
Dylan, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Sometimes neighbor. Sometimes.
That's true, yeah. Sometimes he just disappears. And
when I come back, I get a cold. I mean, I don't know why I should come back to this weather. It's freezing outside.
Washington sucks, huh? Well, you and I were both on the Sunday show, media shows yesterday morning.
Going head to head.
Going head to head, yes.
Like it.
You were on CNN. I was on Fox. I bet
better ratings.
I bet I beat you in the ratings,
as a rule.
But they're both good shows, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk about some of the issues. I want to start with. We talked a little bit about the now famous interview Bill O'Reilly with President Obama.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl. Bill O'Reilly says that his interview will make journalistic history. He told Geraldo Rivera that on Friday. Will it?
No, not at all. Of course not.
Thank you. Yes.
I mean, here is what Bill O'Reilly does for if you're in the Fox News fan base, you're looking at the rest of media, and you believe. Often it's true, very times it's not true. You believe that the media is a lapdog for the president. You believe it doesn't ask him the tough questions. You have been taught by Fox News to believe that the biggest issues on the table are Benghazi, are the IRS scandal, are things of that nature. And so you get Bill O'Reilly in there, and he's interrupting the president. He's jabbing at the president. He's not letting the president finish his sentences. He's ticking off all of these issues, which are like conservative catnip. And so for them, it's like, he's like the true beacon of what the media is supposed to be, and the rest of the liberal mainstream media isn't doing its job. But if you really think about like what he did in that interview, he didn't get anything done. He didn't elicit any important answers. He just satisfied, the base, but he really didn't move the ball forward on anything.
Now, I want to for all of our viewers and our listeners to, first of all, I just want to point out, you and I have not talked about this until this moment, correct?
True.
Right? We did not.
I haven't seen you.
That's right. That's right. So we did not rehearse this exchange. And we are not reading from the teleprompter.
No.
Right? Okay. Because here's what I said yesterday on Fox News about this interview.
Here's my problem with that interview. You know what my problem? As a talk show host, he didn't make any news. I thought he wasted his time. I have a freshman member of the House in my show, and I'm thinking ahead of time, how can I make news with this guy? Bill O'Reilly didn't make news because he asked old, tired, stale questions about Benghazi.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, see, it should be obvious.
Must be right.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
That was obvious to me the more I thought about it. And I'm thinking, like I pointed out, that this other guy was on, I said, he didn't ask about Syria. He didn't ask about Keystone Pipeline. He didn't ask about Edward Snowden and the NSA and all this massive spying operation. I mean, issues today where he might have been able to get the president to say something.
The governing principle of every interview, no matter who it's with, it doesn't just have to be in politics, is you have to move the ball. You have to make news. And you have to set a certain sort of agenda that lasts longer than a day. And he didn't do that.
No. And so the pushing, I mean, I understand you don't want the president to filibuster. And he also had to satisfy his crowd that I'm tough with Obama. So, as obnoxious as it was, it didn't bother me so much as the fact that there was, as I said, there's like Gertrude Stein. There was no there there.
Right, there was no there there.
Yeah.
And anybody can interrupt, anybody with big enough cojones can interrupt the president, right? That doesn't really take much. No. That's not smart. That's just obnoxious.
I also thought the president played him pretty well, too.
Oh, absolutely.
He was having a little fun with him and jabbing him about Fox News, which they were offended by.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Obama has always been very deft at sort of jabbing the press, no matter who it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he does it with everybody.
Yeah.
And when he comes in the briefing room sometimes when people ask him particularly, like Julie Pace asked him, was last year the worst year of your presidency? People sort of went, and he laughed and he said, well, I wouldn't put it exactly that way.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
But, so another topic in the news is, what did you think overall of the media coverage surrounding the death of Philip Seymour Hoffman? Appropriate? Overboard?
I thought it was, as with all big issues, I thought there was a mix. I thought there was some I think if you look at what the film community did, it was incredible. I mean, I turned on Charlie Rose late one night, and they were interviewing A.O. Scott and David Denby, two great film critics, and basically they were revering Hoffman. So that part of it was good. I think there was a very important conversation that was launched about heroin addiction, what it means to relapse. That was actually very important. There was, of course, your usual tabloid, invasive, let's get in his head and let's get in the apartment, let's figure out everything that's going on. And you're never going to be able to stop that because people want to know that, and that makes the front page of the New York Post and the New York Daily News and Drudge Report, and that's just the nature of the beast.
And the social media was so important with this too, right? All the comments out there, and Twitter was alive with comments from people from the industry, but also people who also suffer as addicts. And if you saw the New York Times piece yesterday, the headline was "His Death, Their Lives."
Oh, interesting. I missed that.
That AA meetings around the country, that's all they were talking about last week, because here was a guy that they revered and they admired, and he was their role model.
Right.
Because he talked openly about it.
Yeah.
I mean, so, again, why shouldn't we in the media talk about his addiction when he didn't make any bones about it? He said that he was really hooked until he was 22, and then he realized this was going to screw up the rest of my life, and he went cold, right? And for 23 years he was able to do so. So they said, here's this hero of ours, look at this great movie star, for 23 years he's been clean, and then even he could fall.
Right. I also think there are a lot of people in the entertainment industry right now who make a spectacle of themselves for being sort of like disasters, right? Your Biebers, your Miley Cyruses, what have you.
Hello.
And you actually like look for the talent, and it always comes up short. And he is a guy who is just like full of. I mean, think about all the different people that he played over the course. I mean, he's I would say one of the best until recently living actors,
and
that we've
most
had.
versatile.
And most versatile. And this was an issue of his that he had overcome, and that he dealt with, and that, like you said, he talked about publicly, and that caught up with him. So yeah, I mean, I think everything is fair game to talk about. I think you do have to be somewhat sensitive.
Yeah, I do think that if, God forbid, something horrible happens to Justin Bieber and we have a similar type of coverage of remembering this great performer, I'm going to be pissed. I am going to be pissed. And so when someone genuinely talented and as talented as Hoffman goes, it makes some of that other stuff seem hollow. But I do think that on the drug thing in particular, I just think that there is a large group of society that just does not understand addiction.
Sure.
There were pieces that were written saying, well, this was a choice that he made, and this is, he made his bed, and it's just like, you just don't understand.
Or it's
just don't understand.
It's not an illness. I saw somebody else, cancer's an illness. Addiction is not.
Right.
Hello, yes it is.
I think there are a lot of people who don't understand what it means to relapse. Who understand why that happens. You go back to it and you think, I'm going to do the same amount I did 20 many years ago, and you don't remember that you like worked yourself up to that amount.
Right.
And then it's like all of a sudden you can't handle it.
Speaking of celebrity addictions, why, I understand the Philip Seymour Hoffman, why so much on Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Or is this an important story to get out there?
Well,
and does it really have credibility?
What's really, you actually are asking the right question. Why this? Why now?
Yeah.
The accusations against Woody Allen have been long-standing. They have existed for years and years and years. There's actually nothing new on the table right now. So
her letter contained nothing new.
Her letter contained, as Nick Kristof, who published her letter, said, it's time for her to speak in her own words. She kind of got her case out in a recent Vanity Fair piece that came out before then. I think what's happening now is there is and I'm not saying Woody Allen is guilty or innocent, I don't know. I'm just saying that there is a concerted effort now on the part of the Farrows, certainly of Mia Farrow, to make him look bad now. And you have to ask, why is that now? Is it because he just got a Golden Globe award for Lifetime Achievement? Is it because the Oscars are coming up? Is it because Ronan Farrow has a show coming up on MSNBC? I mean, you have to, Ronan Farrow was the one who introduced Dylan Farrow and the Los Angeles Times editorial department, and the Los Angeles Times editorial department, like the New York Times editorial department, passed on publishing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is why Nick Kristof then stepped in for a friend, Mia Farrow,
and wrote the column.
Right. So you have to. Why is this happening now?
Yesterday, the New York Times publishes a lengthy rebuttal by Woody Allen, which I guess they had to, huh?
Maybe they had to.
Equal time.
You can imagine how frustrated the New York Times editorial department is, because they didn't want this fight. They didn't want to be like the platform for the Allen Farrow family.
Why did they run the Nick Kristof column?
Well, that's up to Nick Kristof. They gave it to basically, and
he can decide.
What the Times will tell you is, we published that piece where we felt it was best to be published. The truth is, according to the people I've talked to at the Times, is that it was submitted to the Times editorial department. They said, we can't run this. We can't be a part of this. Nick Kristof, a very close friend of the Farrows, stepped in and said, okay, I'm going to run it. And they said, your column is your column. You do what you want to do. And then he forced their hand to now have to publish the Woody Allen thing. I think if you're Andrew Rosenthal, the editor of the New York Times editorial page, you're really frustrated by this. And I'll tell you, they never responded to any of my comments. And that's not normal. I mean, they just day after day, it's like, can you comment on this whole
you've been
affair?
writing a lot about it. Yeah, and they don't want to talk about it, huh?